I was haunted by the opposite of black-eyed children. To preface, I am a 24-year-old female currently living in North Carolina, but mainly split my year birth, though 13, moving back and forth from West Virginia, where my dad's family is from, to Ohio, where my mother's family is from. This also requires some backstory. Now, typically, you'd assume that living in Appalachia is where this all began, but oddly enough, I had experienced what I can only call supernatural experiences as far back as I can remember, even starting in Ohio. I began to speak very clearly and early in life. By 2, I was able to hold almost a complete conversation due to the fact my parents never baby talked with me. Because of this, I began to ask questions, some annoying little kid questions, but some my parents had no real answer for. I would ask, why can't I use a big girl cup? In the same sentence, I would ask, why is there a blue ball in the corner of my room at night? Most of the time, my parents shrugged it off by saying, you were just having a dream. And at that age, why would I push further? When I was 3 or 4, we moved into a 2-story townhouse in Ohio. I wasn't typically a kid who was scared of the dark, but in that house, I began to demand that my father would read to me or stay in my room until I fell asleep. For a while, this seemed to work, but my parents did not want me to get in the habit of needing an adult in the room just to fall asleep, so they bought me a nightlight. While yes, the nightlight helped, I was still terrified, not of my own room, but the hallway that I would see from my bunk bed. My bed was pushed up against the back wall with a window at the head of my bed. On the wall directly across was my double closet with double sliding doors. The rest of my room held my small, foldable chair bed that I'm sure anyone born in the 2000s had, along with my other things and toys. From the head of my bed, laying flat, I could turn to my left and see partly out of the window, whereas if I turned right, I could see directly out into the hallway where my parents' bedroom was just out of view. This was the source of my fear. I refused to keep my door shut because I could constantly see and hear things in the hallway, and having the door shut kept me almost paranoid as I could hear it, but not see it. What I saw on a nightly basis after my parents had gone to bed was a full woman, seemingly soaked with water, pacing the hall while absolutely sobbing her eyes out. She never spoke or even looked up at me, but at a very young age, I knew this wasn't right. Who was she? Did my parents let her in? She's crying so loudly, how wasn't this waking my parents up? These questions plagued me every night, and I asked my parents about it and got the same response, that it was just a nightmare. In my parents' room, there was this old vanity with a mirror my mother kept covered up with a cloth. I had eventually determined that the closer I got to it, the scared I was, but because of this is where she hid candy and gum. One day while she was asleep, I decided to try to steal a piece of gum. I went upstairs into her room, and while looking at the vanity, I swear to God I saw the woman who roamed the halls at night sitting in the mirror looking at me. I screamed and started crying, alerting my mother, who quickly ran into the room and threw a blanket, now fully covering the mirror, and promptly explained to never go into her room alone. The rest of the time at that house was a blur. I remember visiting my grandparents much more with my mom, who was just trying to get out of that house until we were ready to move. When I was 6, we moved back to West Virginia for the second time. We lived in a house 2 houses down from where my grandparents lived, and despite still seeing random orbs and apparitions, which I had become somewhat accustomed to, not much happened, that is, until we moved into the house directly next to my grandparents. That house was built in the 30s, and it showed from the super thin glass to no surreal air or heat. Beyond that, the people who lived there before us weren't just certified hoarders, but left some very curious renovations. The house was built into the side of a steep hill. It once has a back porch, but 4 plaster walls had been constructed around it, making it a laundry room. There was no insulation, and the floor was so sensitive you had to walk a very certain path to ensure the wood would just give out. With this, they enclosed an exterior window, making a window from my room look directly into this makeshift laundry room. Interesting things were also found throughout the house: a board-up fireplace, padlocks on the outside of bedroom doors, light switches far too high up for any child to reach, and the crawl space.